Hello friends, today I have a freshly cooked instructive exercise for you where we are going to make white's advantage decisive in the position in front of us. Before I explain you the solution, I would like you to pause the video and think, what would you play here if you were given the white pieces? First thing that we can observe is the placement of the kings. They're on opposite sides of the board, and thus naturally the plan of attack on the wing, if the center remains closed, is considered. Secondly, white has some space advantage because of the pawn on d4, which black hopes to undermine with the move c7 to c5, which is very typical for similar pawn structures. Thirdly, and perhaps even most importantly, there is a very annoying pin. Black's knight currently is pinned to the queen, and if queen ever moves away, we can take on f6 and damage their pawn structure quite severely under the circumstances where white's queen perhaps can easily come to the king side and then relay attack. This wouldn't be the end of the world if white's pieces were not ready to come to the king side, and there are openings where such a damage to the pawn structure won't be problematic for black at all. However, this is not the case over here. On the other hand, there seemed to be no way to put extra pressure on that pin. Or is there? And the key to the position is actually the move knight to e5. The idea in a nutshell is to play knight g4 and attack the knight on f6 the second time. Then, after we take the knight, they have no option of taking back with the queen, as the bishop is going to be attacking that square as well. And this way, we're going to force them to take on f6 with the pawn, which gives us an opening to attack the black's king because it's going to be opened, and we're going to be left with quite a few pieces that are going to come near that king. We will observe the lines, and do not worry, I will show you how the attack will be played out. Let's take a look at a couple of options. First of all, they're not able to take the knight, as after we take, we attack the pin knight, and after something like h6, we can simply take on f6, which is an in-between move, as if they take the bishop, we're going to take the queen, and white wins the game. So it turns out, taking is not an option because of tactical reasons. What if black simply counterattacks? Perhaps counterattacking the middle with the move c7 to c5. Then white can fulfill their idea, which is attacking the knight on f6. Let's imagine black grabs seemingly a free pawn for now, and here knight takes f6, g takes f6, and after something like queen h5, black has to resign. There is almost not avoidable threat of a checkmate on h7, and they're not able to block the light square bishop because the white's bishop is attacking the black's queen. So now black is thinking, alright, I cannot take on e5, I have no time for counterattack, and white is threatening knight g4. One of the moves that they could do, and this makes things a little bit more tricky, is to play h6. It feels that perhaps they're not changing anything. However, black has two ways to fight against that. Now, first of all, what is the reason for h6? Well, now, since the bishop is not on this diagonal, black hopes that when the knight moves, they're actually able to give this bishop f4 check and bring the bishop back home to defend. For example, if they play c5, and now incorrect move would be knight g4, incorrect in a way that it's not the best, although it still gives white a very good position. Now black has this bishop f4 out of nowhere, so inclusion of h6 and bishop h4 is actually to black's benefit, because after king b1 they're able to go back, the pin is not there anymore, and black defends f6 with the bishop. So this is a very clever resource that black has. Before we see how white should continue from that position, we can also observe the move g5. And this just weakens the king, not because it gets open, but also because white has too many pieces that are gonna come to the king side. For example, bishop to g3. Now, white's main idea is to open up the king side and involve the rook in the play. So they're going to play h4. For example, c5, counterattacking, h4. For example, taking the free pawn, takes, and takes. And here white has a very strong resource, although there are many moves that you could aim for attack, like say f4 is one of the options. But a move that I like a lot is rook to h5. We're attacking g5, which is very hard to defend, and if they're actually taking that rook, our queen joins the party and we're launching a very hard to defend attack. For example, f5, the bishop is no longer looking at h7, but now this allows queen to g6. Seems like they can defend with queen g7, but then we double attack and take on e6. If they play king h8, then the rook is coming to h1 with the mating threat or winning the black's queen. So they must defend with rook to f7. And here, for example, takes on f7, takes on f7, takes, and takes, and white enters a simply winning endgame where they're a piece up. Easy endgame to win even at low level games. So if we go back and we go to the best defense that perhaps black would try, which is the move c5, I think that the smartest decision for white is actually to go king b1. If you recall the check on f4, now we're threatening to go knight g4, and there is no time for the bishop to come back and defend. For example, c takes d4, and white plays knight to g4. As you can see currently, if they play bishop f4, the bishop is not checking, and there is no time to go to g5. And now white is again able to take and damage the pawn structure severely, after which white once again gets a very strong attack. For example, queen g4, and if you block with the bishop, there is at the very least f4, I believe, and because of the pin, I'm gonna be winning the bishop on the next move. So if black just ignores the threat, let's say they're counterattacking the queen side or attempting to do so, we can simply take on f6, g takes f6, knight h6, and then queen is coming and white is winning the game. So I wanted to do some extra analysis to emphasize the strength of the subsequent attack after the damage in the pawn structure occurs. I like this idea a lot, knight e5, knight g4. I don't think it's super typical, though some of you might or might not have found it natural. Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this presentation, please subscribe to my chess channel. You can also consider hiring me your personal online chess coach. That's my full-time job for almost a decade now. My contacts are on the right, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.